calling a random person, cold calling. It was definitely hard, but as I got to the, I think around 50th call, it was much better. I could talk to directors and much more comfortable.
Hey, this is Patrick Curtis, CEO and founder of Wall Street Oasis. Today we have a great chat with Juan Pablo. Juan Pablo joined us when he was a sophomore at University of Chicago. He joined us a little bit late in January, so right kind of in the middle as on-cycle recruiting was kicking off. Listen to how he leveraged us, did a ton of mocks, and ended up landing at JPMorgan in the private banking division in Miami. Enjoy. All right, Juan Pablo, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me, Patrick.
So it'd be awesome if you could just give the listeners kind of short summary bio, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Sure. So my name is Juan Pablo. I was born and raised in Mexico. Since I was little, I knew I wanted to study in the US. I got to do summer school at UChicago, really liked it. Ended up doing ED to study economics and global studies. And yeah, a bit of like background work related. I did an internship in asset management my freshman year. Right now I'm doing an internship in venture capital, and next year I'm going to be working at JPMorgan at the global private bank. So that sits under the asset and wealth management division of the bank.
Nice, man. Very exciting. Congrats on that outcome. Let's just start kind of on your decision to kind of go to UChicago. It sounds like you kind of knew pretty early on, right after you did that, like that summer there, that this was the school for you. What gave you that confidence to know UChicago and not somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was exactly just like the summer experience. How I knew I wanted to study in econ, and just how good the econ program is like the main thing that caught my attention about Chicago. And I just love the campus. I really like the people,
Yeah.
and I've had like 2 great years so far.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I made the right choice.
When you were kind of thinking of going to UChicago, was finance on the radar, like finance roles? Were you thinking about, hey, what could I potentially do coming out of school
Mhm.
at all at that point?
Yeah, I always had like I was always interested in finance. Back in high school, I did marketing and e-commerce, but nothing finance specific. So I
Mhm.
was like, this is interesting. I want to try it out. And it was really on that first year summer internship that uh, I realized that I really liked it. And after that, I was like, what opportunities can I pursue for that in the US? And that's how that's a bit of how I ended up with WSO.
So in your freshman year, was it something where like as you're going through it, you're doing your standard like required classes, econ.
Yeah.
Did you join any like finance clubs, anything like that on campus?
Yeah, a couple of finance clubs, took financial accounting, basic econ classes, but it was really after doing my summer that because I realized I really wanted it, that I started looking into how could I get a role for the third year summer, which is the important one.
Yeah, the junior summer, the critical one. So, talk about that, like that internship kind of. How did you were you network? Did you know how to network right when you joined school? Were you comfortable talking to adults, older
Mhm.
people right out of the gate? Because
That's a good question. I guess
yeah,
for like definitely the first call wasn't it was hard. It's just calling a random person, cold calling. It was definitely hard, but as I got to the, I think around 50th call, it was much better. I could talk to directors and much more comfortable. I didn't even need to prep that much, so it definitely gets better as you go on with your networking calls.
and when you were like doing that networking to try and land that freshman summer, was it more like just LinkedIn, cold email? Let's talk a little bit about tactics on the networking. So you kind of figured, okay, I want to do something in finance. Asset management seemed interesting.
Mhm.
You're like, let me try this. So it's the cool part is it seems like you're doing asset management, venture. You have a lot of like different
Yeah.
interests and it's cool because you're getting ideally a lot of kids can get this, but unfortunately it's like if you're going for banking, you don't really have that much time. Some people do like a search fund for PE. But it sounds like you, yeah, talk to me a little bit about how you landed that asset management summer internship, and like in capital markets and stuff, and
Yeah.
what you did day to day there. I know most freshman summer internships are just like get coffee, so don't feel.
Yeah, I actually had a great experience because it was a smaller team, so definitely got to take more of a lead there, and it was I got to do like a bit of a rotational with the sales and trading team
Oh,
and with our
cool.
economic analysis team. So I got to it was more for me to learn and see what was out there, and I just had a great experience there. In terms of the first thing you asked, which is networking, it was definitely LinkedIn cold messaging anyone that worked in companies that I thought were interesting, uh, asking just for a couple minutes of their time, and also finding their emails from either from my alumni networks at my university, or trying to like use their name and the company to figure out what their email was, which wasn't we didn't work 100% of the time, but uh, sometimes ended up working out. And from there it was more organic, right? If
Yeah.
the call went well, they would refer you to speak with someone else at other company, and that's really how you get the ball rolling.
So in your freshman year, were you doing a lot of that, or was it like to help you get the asset management internship at Casa de Bolsa, right?
Yeah, I did I did networking first and second year, but it was more heavy for the
Second
junior
year.
internship.
Yeah.
Much more heavy for
So
that.
what would you say, like in that first year, had you done like 10 calls, one-on-one, five? Like was it that low? And then you got the summer internship?
Yeah, I would say first year around 5 to 10.
5 to 10. Yeah. Okay. So
Not that many.
yeah, pretty low volume, but maybe more targeted, maybe,
Yeah.
that type of thing. And then so you land that summer internship, you do kind of this cool rotational program. What's your thought process in terms of like, hey, could I go back there? What's their communication? Hey, you can come back next summer if you want, like, or is it more like, hey, good luck? Because
Yeah.
then you ended up doing now you're this summer you're doing venture, right? So talk to me a little bit about like that progression. Obviously, the focus is on junior summer, but talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the option to come back,
Mhm.
but that was in Mexico City, and I knew I wanted to work in the U.S.
So like in terms of just like your decision of like going into sophomore year, like
Mhm.
how were you approaching it? Because I know you joined WSO Academy in January, which is kind
Yeah,
of when things really kick off. So did you know about us before then and we're kind of thinking about it, or what was the thought process of the timing of when you joined? And yeah, love to hear that.
yeah. So yeah, I've heard of WSO before, but I thought I could do it all by myself. So I did all my networking and all my like
Mm.
practice interviews by myself when I started my second year, my
Yep.
sophomore year at
Yep.
UChicago. And I think in terms of networking I was able to do it by myself, but it was in the interview prep where I saw that WSO could really add value,
Mhm.
and I realized that around December, January, where I was thinking about it, and I think it was the right choice. I don't know the exact number, but I probably ended up doing around 10 mock interviews in the spread of January, February, which was when recruiting really got more intense, right?
Yeah.
So that's a bit about my thought process on how I ended
Yeah.
up
And so
picking
like
WSO.
by January of sophomore year, how many one-on-ones had you done at this point? Like in terms of like
With
scaling?
WSO.
No, just like well, no one-on-one, sorry, networking calls kind of leading up to that recruiting season.
Probably like about half before, so like around 25 to 30, and then the other half in January, February
So it
when
was
we got
like
more.
you ended up at like 60, call it,
Yeah,
but
around
you've done
60, I
about
guess.
half kind of leading into the recruiting season. You
Mhm.
joined us, started mocking like crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I see you did but you did get better. I can see some of your scores here, and so like
Mhm.
you were improving. Talk to me a little bit about that process of just like getting better at interviewing. Did anything surprise you kind of with the mentors or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I like the most about the program. You really get like top-notch networks who are actually working in the banks and who probably either went to the process a couple of years ago or are on the other side of recruiting,
Yeah.
and that's really where I got the most value, and and you get feedback that you didn't expect, and it's only until you are like on the interview setting that you realize what you have to improve on. So that's definitely what was the highlight of the program for me.
And so as you're kind of coming through, let's talk a little bit about like just how your whole process played out for, landing at JPM.
Mhm.
Um, was it something where like you were just applying to like 50 places like everybody else and just like hoping you get a few first rounds? Just talk to me a little bit about like, you had done, let's say 50 calls, 60 calls in that range by, call it March. What were the numbers looking like in terms of just like first round interviews, higher views, all that stuff to Super Days?
Yeah, so in terms of Superdays, there was 3 Superdays total, and I knew JPM was my first choice, and also in Miami, and it's a group that does LATAM private banking, so they
Yep.
handle clients all over LATAM. I knew that that's what I really wanted. I applied to no more than 15 banks total. I
Hmm.
was more targeted and just applied to the ones that I was really interested in
Yep.
and that I had networked to some degree, to some extent.
Yep.
And, and yeah, ended up deciding on JPM and really happy with that with
Nice.
that
Out of those
outcome.
15, so like to get to those three Super Days, was it like 6 or 7 first rounds or something like that? Or what would you say?
Like 5.
Like 5. Okay, so pretty good conversions from the first round to Super Day. How were the interviews like? Was it similar to how you were mocking, or was there any curveballs that you were unexpected? Like, because you did a lot of mocks, so I assume you got some strange questions in those mocks, but
Yeah. So yeah, when they ask you the standard questions that you would expect and you practice, it's obviously it's easy because you did the practice. But
yeah,
yeah, sometimes they throw questions that you didn't expect, and just try to use your 7 stories or anything you have or anything you've prepped,
yeah.
to try to just come up with the best possible answer. But yeah, having been through that with the mocks definitely helps when the interview times come.
And then did you take advantage of the courses or any of the boot camps on the weekends? Because, econ major, you probably needed a little bit of brush up on accounting and finance, although for the roles you were applying to, maybe it was less technical. I mean, you tell me.
Yeah, I did. I don't remember. I remember doing
Financial
one of them.
modeling valuation boot camp or
Probably that one. Yeah,
yeah,
accounting valuation.
yeah.
Sounds right. Yeah, I definitely found it useful.
Did you kind of going into the interviews, did you feel like it was mostly behavioral, or how did they kind of grill you? Was it any technicals that were tough?
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty good mix of behavioral technicals. Yeah, and for what anything asset wealth management, it's got to be less technical than IB, but still it's more about your understanding of the market. It's more about your intuition. So you have to have more about like having a well developed opinion on anything that's going on. Back then it was tariffs, so just being well prepared, reading the news a lot. But yeah, there's definitely like half of the interview is going to be technical.
And so it was like, is the Fed going to raise rates? What's happening with inflation? That type of stuff. What happens
Yeah,
if tariffs go through?
yeah, what's going to happen to a portfolio of this type,
Yeah.
etc.
Very interesting. Okay, so you had maybe your econ degree did come in handy in those. That here more on the market side. Talk to me a little bit about just like you said you got to 3 Super Days. Was this like back to back, the timing? Like, did you get your offer like near the end or the beginning of it, and then you canceled the other Super Days, or did you actually go through 3 Super Days?
Yeah, I actually went to the tree and they happened to be within the same 2 weeks.
And so like what happened in terms of just like those, was it similar in terms of just like market similar job? Was it for private banking?
Yeah, it was for a similar job. So one was investment banking, one was private banking,
Uh-huh.
and I ended up deciding that I like JPM better, and I really like the city that the job was in. So that
Nice.
was a bit about how I factored in my
So you're going to
decision.
be based in Miami?
Yeah, I'm gonna be based in Miami next summer.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. And then, yeah, just looking back, I guess, yeah, at your whole path, would you, any pieces of advice you'd give kind of to your younger self, maybe as you're a freshman, or any piece of advice you give to other students that are in a similar spot?
I'd say in terms of the networking, just talking to as many people as possible, even if you're just like remotely interested in the role. The only way to get to know how if you're gonna like the job or not is to talk to people that are doing it right now. And and the fact that you reach out with a college email just helps so much. and people are very willing to share what they do with you. And I've gotten to talk with directors, like people at all levels. As long as you do the right approach, that's really gonna not only help you with recruiting, but help you just figuring out what you want as a freshman, sophomore in college. I think that
Yeah,
would be like the main thing,
I
just
think
like how you look at networking.
yeah, I think that's awesome advice. I think it's tough when you're expected at like 18, 19 years old to know what you want to do post graduation when you're 22. And so the other big benefit of networking besides becoming a better speaker is, really actually gaining knowledge around what people are doing day to day at each of these roles. So I highly recommend that. And Juan Pablo, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much, Patrick.